Hey everyone, welcome to the CMC show, Candid Melanin Conversations, where we discuss sports and entertainment, hot topics. I'm your host, Anthony Stewart, and at this time, let me bring in my co-host. This first gentleman was one of the first, if not the first, to welcome me to UTSA when I transferred from Western Michigan. He was a player down there, and since his playing days, he's been teaching and coaching basketball over the years, and he taught and coached at many Spurs camps. But he's a good friend, a dear brother. David Singh, welcome, my man.
Good evening, and glad you're having me.
All right. This next brother was a successful coach in California, a high school basketball coach for many years. I met him when I came here to Las Vegas, and then we teamed up to do some things and teach and coach some kids out here in Vegas. Another dear friend of mine, Coach Pharr. Welcome to the show, Coach.
Hey, thank you, brothers. Thank you guys for having me.
So tonight, our discussions, I thought it would be great to talk about the Bronny James thing, right? It's been hot. We all know it's hot, right? So I figure what better show to start with than to talk about Bronny James. I want to get y'all's take on it. And I'll just tell you a little bit about what I think about it. Obviously, we all know it's a situation where Bronny wouldn't have got drafted if it wasn't for LeBron. And then he's been struggling. So that hasn't it hasn't been good for him. So my question is this a good thing? Is it going to start something that maybe we don't want to start in sports, because sports has normally been about merit, but could this be the beginning of something different? What do you guys think? Any one of you guys?
I'll chime in. Being that we play collegiate basketball, it takes a lot of work to make it to the show. What I mean by the show is making it to the next level of playing professionally. And, Bronny, I give him his props. He's where he is because he's Bronny James, not because he's Bronny James, the player that is qualified enough to play in the NBA, but he is Bronny James's LeBron James, who, in my opinion, was really tarnishing the league because of the fact that he acts like he's a spoiled child in many cases. And this falls over into the fact of now he wants to be the first father-son duo to play in the league, even though his son really should not be in the league. And it's not just me that's saying that. There's a lot of commentators who've played professionally who have the same opinions and same feelings, and press upon the fact that other players have a better right or more of a right to be in that spot where Bronny is taking it. So to answer your question, I'm not really in favor of it. I think it's a bad look for the league. If Bronny were bigger and he had more experience, he stayed at USC a little bit longer. Looking at the entire situation, he took a pay cut, going from making $6 million at USC to $3 million a year. That's if he gets into the game, but he's still making the money because his dad took exactly the pay cut on Bronny's contract. So those are my thoughts.
Okay. Yeah, I appreciate that. I kind of agree pretty much. Coach, what do you think?
Well, I mean, I think that it's a situation, really, first of all, is that if any of us were in that position, would we do any differently? That's number one. Number two, I think when you look at the overall totality of where he was drafted at 55, all three of us have been watching basketball since, I know for myself, 1980, and I know you young man probably date me by a couple of years. But with that being said, we can't even name a top 55 pick in the draft who succeeded. And the only one that comes to mind after doing a little Google search on it was Patty Mills. Is the only one that was drafted at 55 and who's had any type of NBA career. The young man was going to play basketball. We don't know if he was going to get drafted or not. And I just think that it's something that the coach and I talked about before. I don't know if him having the heart situation, if that was something that scared LeBron James and said, hey, look, this is something I've always wanted to do. So since I have a little bit of power, I'm going to use that, to get my son in the league so that we could have this moment. But once again, I don't think it's something that a lot of us, if we would have had that chance to do that, we wouldn't have done it. As far as him tarnishing the game, and that's everybody's opinion. We all got different opinions about that, and we can all say that. But I just look at it as we saw people go above and beyond in different things, be it sports, entertainment, politics, jobs, where they've made it easier for their child. Why is this any different?
That's just to go back to the part about tarnishing. I don't think LeBron and his son playing on the team or playing in the league is tarnishing the game. I think LeBron's antics are what's tarnishing it.
And when you say
he's having tantrums on the court, when he doesn't get his way, whether it be via the referee or his own coach. I've always appreciated watching LeBron. Because he is a phenomenon. In his later years, it seems like he's trying to portray himself as something more than what he actually is capable of doing. He's the all-time leading scorer. But when you go stat for stat and you look at the number of years he played to get to that plateau, as opposed to Jordan and Wilt, who was the number one leading scorer of all time. So there are things that he's done, in my opinion, and again, everybody has an opinion, that have tarnished the game. Now, I agree with you. As a father, I would want the best for my son too. And if I had that opportunity, I probably would have followed through with the conditions of saying, hey, kid, I'm getting you here, but you need some experience. I have no problem with you playing in the G League and, doing some whatever you can in a lower league, because he's got to build that experience. Without that experience, so like it hurts.
Right. Go ahead, finish up there.
Just the fact that I'm always trying to be optimistic. And like you mentioned earlier, Coach, that heart condition is a scary thing. And I would really hate to see him in a game, whether his dad's on the court with him or not, and then all of a sudden it hits.
Right.
Yeah, there are a number of things you guys touched on that I think we should kind of elaborate on. So the one thing was the selfishness part that Coach mentioned. The other thing was, would we do it? And then we talked about 55th picks, and so forth. Going to the part of, the selfish part. Now, I think we have to agree that given everything we've said about Bronny, the heart condition, if I pull up USC's stats for the last year, the fact that he's probably according to stats, the sixth best player on the team, you have to agree that it is selfish of LeBron, or you could look at it as maybe using Bronny for his own, just for, more legacy points. I know, look at people that's going to hear this, they're going to hear me use the word using, and it's going to, be a whole thing, but technically I think it is.
Self-gratification, he wants to be known in history of the game as an all-time leading scorer and the first player to ever play in a game with his.
Speaking of that, speaking of that,
exactly what it is. For me, at least, it would be more palatable instead of trying to play with our own minds and say, oh, he's this, he's that. We're going to use him for this and that. When basically all they really should say is, we had a chance to do this, which they probably touched on that a little bit. We're going to do it, but really he needs to go to the G League. I mean, just come out and say it. Like, really, he needs to go to the G League. And I'm not so sure he thrives in the G League. What do you guys think about that?
I mean, I agree. I don't think that, he probably will or he won't, but that's to be decided because he's going to the G League. They're gonna let him play so that him and LeBron can have their moment. and he's going to go
Yeah.
to the G League. And then hopefully, because he has a 4-year guarantee, that when his guarantee is up, he'll be 23 years old. That's the same age as the kid they just drafted out of Tennessee, who's going to be in their rotation right now. So we don't know how he'll develop, in that time. We do know that from everything that we've heard is that the kid is a hard worker. The kid, believes in getting up and getting in the gym. He's not afraid to work. We've heard that he's real good as far as criticism goes. He doesn't let it affect him. So we'll just see where it goes. The biggest thing I think that everybody is looking at is that LeBron, yes, I think that he said, I have a chance to do something. I'm going to be selfish and do it. And that's what I just think he did.
If I had a son, I'm in that position. Do I pull the trigger? Again, going back to the basketball or sports, period. Basically merit-based, right? Like, it's the work you put in dictates how far you go, and you can't cut the line. Like, sports is like, there's no line cutting in sports. Either you do the work, you produce, and then you get recognized. Yeah, as far as that piece goes, man, we'll have to see. There, you got Oliveri. That I think I went to his stats when he was in college. He averaged 19 points. Might as well say he averaged 20 points a game. Boogie, that was on Bronny's team, averaged 16 points a game. Wasn't drafted. They're all trying to make a team, and I think Oliveri just signed, and Boogie signed, I believe, with Sacramento. I believe they went the route that you normally have to go through. So I feel sorry for Bronny. There's a target on his back from not just players, but just pundits and people just talking about the whole situation. I just hope that it doesn't mess with his psyche somewhere down the line, to not, people call it hate. People like to call, if you're talking negative about LeBron, the narrative is you're hating. Well, for him to feel all of that, I just hope it doesn't mess with his psyche.
He's young, which is a good thing. But I mean, I read people very well. And just from watching him, for example, in the summer league, he had a lot of moments where they were deer in headlights. I mean, he was going through the motions, but he just couldn't control his speed. And he looked out of control. So now that he's playing in preseason, the preseason games that he's played in, he still has that same demeanor. Like he gets in the game, oh my God, what am I going to do? How am I going to play? Am I going to be good? Am I going to be bad? And you can't have that mindset walking on anybody's basketball court. So the bright spot for him is, like we said, his contract is guaranteed. And that was the main thing LeBron wanted him to have, because, he is going to the G League, but he's not getting G League money. He's going to get, he's going to get show money. So, that's a benefit to him. But I just hope that he does progress the way everybody expects him to, because, once that time comes when LeBron says, all right, I'm done, I can't play anymore, what's going to happen to Bronny?
So you all are absolutely sure he's going to send him to the G League?
Oh, yeah. LeBron has already smoothed it over. He's already come out and said it. So he knows where he's going. He just wants his moment. He just wants his moment. I mean, that's like right now I'm looking at it, and you got the Griffeys there. You got Ken and Junior Griffey at the look of nowhere. So you already know what's going to happen. You're going to get, they already took their Griffeys, did all that. This is just his moment. And just like David just said, is that it's about him having this different legacy than everybody else. Hey, you guys you wasn't able to do this. I was the first to do this. That's really what this is about. And that's why he really rushed it. But anybody with any type of basketball IQ, and you got a 6'2" guard, then there's three things he has to be. He has to be a knockdown, legit 3-point shooter. He has to be a dog on defense, or he has to be a straight, real deal Holyfield point guard.
Yeah.
Exactly. And,
right.
You know, he does have some type of IQ, but he don't have a shot and he can't run a team.
Another thing that's off is how he doesn't really read situations well. And you can
Right.
tell, like Dave said, that's that deer in headlights thing. That's
Right.
actually like reading situations, reading what's going on at any given moment on the court. And it seems like he's not adept at that yet.
Right. Well, that's what happens when you're stuck as a tweener.
Yeah.
When you're a tweener,
Yeah.
that's how you are. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, they got the guys that how they call them 3-and-D guys in the league,
Yes.
but they're not a D guy. You know,
Yeah.
or they may be a
Mhm,
D
right.
guy and for 3 guy. So now he gets lost. They don't know what to do because they
Right.
don't have a defined set. You know,
Yeah, but I've heard that LeBron has kind of done this all of his playing career. Like they didn't have him coming out of high school as an All-American, I don't believe. And I heard that LeBron made some calls and then they put him on the team, or he wasn't ranked as high.
and once again, guys, you had made a comment about sports and about the work ethic and everything like that. But how many coaches have coached and their sons were on the team? I'll just name one off the top of my head. Jerry Tarkanian's son, Danny, was on their team. Do you think Danny was getting any playing time on any of those UNLV teams?
Unless it was
You know-
straight garbage.
And it didn't even happen in garbage because they had, Tark, I mean, you know how Tark coached and how Tark was, he was a
You're
different dude. Wasn't no white dude playing for Tark, man, not even his own kid, so just what to say is that coaches have done this and their kids have not been any good. And they've put them on collegiate teams. And then the next thing you know, 2-3 years later, the dude is the assistant coach, the grad assistant, whatever. I mean, look at what the boy just did at Virginia, Tony Bennett. Tony Bennett came under his dad. He came under his pops. So, Bill Musselman, the head coach now in the USC, came under his dad. So this is something that has been done a lot. And let's just be honest, brothers, and let's just say what it is. And it's more of a speculation right now. One, because of LeBron James, but number two, because of how LeBron James looked. Let's just keep it 100. He's a black man doing something that they've been doing for a long time, man.
And it's
Now
still,
all of a sudden,
it's still,
and now we
I
have a
think,
say.
as we all were in athletic and in sports, and actually, in high school, I experienced the same thing, and people before me did, that coaches' sons would be pushed in front. So, yeah, it's happened a lot. And like you say, it is just because LeBron is like a big megaphone guy, basically. He's out there. So it's going to be much bigger. Does this make him the GOAT? Or is he your GOAT? Who do you guys have as your GOAT?
I mean, I would, right now, I would go with MJ for the fact that he's got 6 titles with the same team. He may have had various teammates throughout those 6 years, but, with his ability, with his size, with the way his tenacity just led him to those titles. I would say Wilt. But see, Wilt didn't win a whole lot of titles. I mean, you could go with Bill because Bill won 13. So, it's kind of a toss-up with the 3.
Yeah.
Yeah, for myself, I'll say Mike only because if 10 people was in a room and they all saying Mike, how you going to go against 10 people? So everybody that's everybody, they going to say Mike. Coach Stu knows, for myself, the 2 greatest basketball players I think I've ever seen would be Michael Jordan and Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. Now, Kareem does not get the same accolades as Mike because of his position that he played and his demeanor. But his longevity is just as long as LeBron's. Kareem was the first phenom. And so him and Mike are probably the 2 best players, I think, if we're going to start the GOAT conversation.
I would go with those 2, but I would throw Wilt in there as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I wish I had a chance to see Wilt. I know he was the only one to block the Sky Hook.
But I bought what Dave just said because of the titles. So the reason why I give Kareem over Wilt is because it wasn't just the Lakers Kareem won a title with. Kareem won a title with the Bucks. And, and when he won his title against the Bucks, he had to go through Wilt. He had to go through Russell. I mean, the Celtic dynasty, he had to beat the Knick dynasty, so that's why I give it to Kareem. But yeah, but those two, I think if you starting with those two, you're starting a pretty good argument.
Absolutely. Well, fellas, I think we're going to go ahead and wrap this up for the first one. Man, I do appreciate y'all, and we're going to come back with another episode. Thank all of you all for watching.
Peace out, man.